So what do I want to talk about? Figured I'd do a quick vlog. The thought here is about the history that helps you here, the history of here. How do I use what I've been given, what I've seen, what I've learned, my experiences to help me out in the environment I'm in right now, and to work through all my transitions and issues and opportunities that may come. So I think about that in the context of, if you don't know our story, my wife and I, within the last 5 years or so, I give you that part of the story. There's a whole life of changes. There was, we bought a house, 100-year-old house, fully renovated, took the time to decorate it, fill it up with the things that we love, made it feel like our space, and then a year later, decided to empty that house out and pick up everything and move to Mexico. We were in Mexico for 3 years, a couple of different locations in the city of San Miguel de Allende. Went through opening our own business, changes in, the finances with my job, a lot of things just kind of going on. And then eventually back to where we are now, where, the finances said, hey, we need to go back to America. Wasn't really working out for my wife's career situation, so we're in Dayton, Ohio now. So there's a lot of things that you're going to have to put into practice, you're going to have to use, to draw from, to understand how to navigate the big things that life might throw at you. And I look at my own history, and I had a father who was a very steady person, very steady presence, worked the same job for 35 years, pretty much lived in the DC area for most of that time, lived in a little bit in Charlotte, North Carolina when we were down there living in Charlotte. But for the most part, he really stayed central to the DC area. Was very much sort of in his own zone, right? In his own trenches, was very steady, wasn't going off on a limb, wasn't trying anything over the top, wasn't going and exploring the world. He retired early in his job, but really just took that time to kind of chill and just live life for the most part and enjoy the things that he enjoyed. Music and audiophile and fashion and clothing and, expensive luxury items. Those were kind of his things, the things that he wanted to get into. And then I have my mother on the opposite end of that. My mother is a fashion designer, creative to the core, and said, hey, if I want to pursue this fashion thing, I got to get out of Maryland, where we were at the time, and move to New York. So literally she picked up everything, would live in, pay by the day, pay by the week hotels, would walk, 20, 30 blocks each way back and forth to work a job so she can kind of get her money together to be able to get her own space and do the things she wanted to do in fashion. And she would do that for decades, literally. She hit New York, she hit Chicago, she hit Detroit, Atlanta, Philly, DC. So she was constantly kind of chasing this dream, and through the decades and through time, she's always been chasing this dream, to the point now where she has, a business making one-of-a-kind hats, sells a lot via Facebook, and is, relatively comfortable in doing that, has a large customer base because she's been moving around and built that over the years. And I can look at her for the example of how are you able to pick up and just get up and go and move when you need to? Sort of how do you keep your life flexible? How do you keep things maybe a little bit simple so that you don't have to constantly start over again, I guess, every time in a particular way. Part of that we did have to employ when we were in Mexico. So, like I said, we had this big house full of stuff. We had to kind of get rid of that stuff. We could have taken all that stuff with us to Mexico, but it just makes it so much harder for you to move around when you have things and stuff and furniture and, artwork and all the things you kind of collect over a lifetime, sort of weighing you down in a lot of ways. And Mexico was really set up in a way where, a lot of places are furnished. So you don't have to have furniture. You can walk into a completely set up house. It might even have utensils and pots and pans and plates and cups. So you can just walk in and just start living, basically. It's not a huge job to kind of move from house to house. And being in that mindset and that thinking for the 3 years we were in Mexico was a really eye-opening and refreshing experience in a lot of ways. I had maybe 2 or 3 suitcases of stuff, and if we need to get up and go, or we decide we don't like this place anymore, we want to be someplace else, it's so much easier to kind of get up and make things happen. You're not so bogged down and weighed down by things that you have to kind of drag behind you. So kind of taking that mindset when you're in that frame of life where you want to have some flexibility to the way you're moving. You don't want to be stuck in one place. You don't want to feel like you can't make moves that you want to move. Like, think about that as a way of living, of how can I make my life as simple as possible? How can I get rid of the superfluous? How can I, just carry what I need, pack light, and make it so that I can move a little faster? So that's something I definitely look to my mother as an example. I look to my brother as an example too. And, he was younger and out running the streets, like he'd be sleeping on people's couches. And, not that I necessarily wanted to live that lifestyle he was living in. It was a little reckless at the time, being, young and dumb, moving through life. But there are situations where, like, you don't have to always be in the most comfortable situation or in the lap of luxury or, be in a perfect situation at all times. Sometimes you can kind of suck it up and rough it a little bit, sort of make things more easy and flexible for you when it's time to move and do things. So I try to pick up that mindset a little bit more in life, particularly over the last 3 years moving through Mexico and understanding where I want to be and, just trying to be, I think in this environment we're living now, we don't necessarily know what's going to happen from one day to the next. The government may not be as solid as we might want it to be. Things are kind of happening quickly. It might come to a point where you feel like you need to get up and get out the country, or you need to get up and get out your state because something's going on. So how can we make sure that we're as flexible as possible when we do that? Is a way to think about it. But on the other hand, like as I'm coming back to the U.S. after that sort of 3 years of sort of living slim and easy, I kind of see both sides of it. Like both viewpoints are valid. Like there's the ability to live light, and there's also, what do you do when you really want to settle in and sink in and feel like, this is the place where I want to be, or I want to build something in this spot. I do miss that feeling of having a home that feels catered to me and built for me because I've chosen the things, because I have sculpted and molded my own personal space to the way that I want to live. That's the thing that you kind of miss out when you live light in that way. We could move in Mexico and be in places that are fully furnished, but you don't know what furniture's in there. It might be nice furniture, it might be the cheapest furniture in the world, it might be half broken, it might be the most beautiful looking things, and you sit and lay on them and they feel extremely uncomfortable. Your sciatica starts acting up because you're on this, couch with no back support on it. So, having that ability to be comfortable in your own space, and feel like it's yours and it's personal and you own it, even if you don't own it, even if you're just renting, like feeling like you own this space, I think is a big deal. So that's kind of, I think, the mode or the mood that I'm in now. I really want to be in a space where I can build something, I can be there for a little while. I'm very much over the sort of quick move and jumping from place to place. And like even when we first came here, landed in Ohio, like the place that I'm in right now is a temporary place. It's not the permanent place. It's an Airbnb for the most part. So there's things here, it was already furnished. A lot of this furniture it's not comfortable, right? It's not the things I would have chosen for myself. So like trying to get back to a place where we can start building again. So we have our finances in place. We have some opportunities in place. We're in a city of Dayton, Ohio, where there's opportunity to easily own, property, and to really build something here. We wanted to build something here. There's, resources for small business. There's resources for entrepreneurship. There's resources for home ownership. So there's a lot you can kind of do in this place as we kind of sit in and think about it as a place to build from. So I guess that's kind of what I wanted to say today is, there are things in your life that you experience or others experience that you can kind of draw from to help you navigate through these different parts. Like how can you learn, in my experience from my mother, how to live light, how to move quickly, how to be flexible, or my father's side, how to kind of sink in and settle in and feel at home and be in a place surrounded by the things that you love and the people you love. So, there's all these phases of life we go through, and having some examples to understand how to shift gears from one to the other is always helpful. So this for me, and I think for us, is a place to shift gears again, to go from that, living from place to place, quick flexibility, into something that feels a little bit more settled. So that's an exciting move for us, and I'm gonna take this time out and do a quick vlog because we're going to be continuing to share a little bit more about that transition for us and how things are happening for us in Ohio. So that should be exciting, hopefully, for you guys to kind of tag along with, and maybe we'll share some things that we're learning along that way as well. So as always, I'm Chris, 7997. Peace, y'all.